Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I truly want to just say thank you for sharing this space with me and doing this. We talked about this previously. I have a set of questions. Oh, I love the reactions on the video, by the way. I have a few set of questions for you. We're anticipating going over about five different questions, but before we start anything, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and where you're located.
Indeed, I am Dr. Hannah Mesouani. My pronouns are she and her. I live in central Illinois, so I'm in Bloomington in McLean County in Illinois, about 2 hours south of Chicago. I was born and raised in Morocco, graduated from the same doctoral program as you, interviewed together, the highlight of my life. I have a couple different roles that relate to our conversation. So,
Okay.
firstly, I work in DEI education for as long as it's legal, doing a lot
Yes.
of like PDs, a lot of different consulting, equity partnerships with local nonprofits,
Hmm.
local businesses, police department, like a bunch of different organizations. I also am an adjunct professor at Illinois State University, and I have done with Illinois. Where did we graduate from? University of San Diego.
So
So
you
I
had
say
10
that
jobs, is what you're telling me.
honestly, yes. Truly, it's a rough economy.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
A little bit. A little, especially for
Mhm.
the type of work that we do.
For real, because I teach in education and in social work. Neither profession is known for, big balling. So there's that. And then I do separate ready coaching, like racial justice and equity coaching for leadership in different organizations. So some of that
Okay.
too.
That's pretty
Don't
cool.
forget
That's
some
pretty
of
cool.
that.
All right. Busy lady. So jumping into more of the conversation, and thank you for providing that super comprehensive context. It always helps to kind of get a sense of what all you're juggling, so to speak. So what is one significant shift that you've observed in your community or your field or your area of focus? Obviously, that's happened more recently. And how has it impacted your work or the people you serve?
Yeah. I think the word that comes to mind initially and like still resonates is panic, is like just absolute panic and with
How
a
so?
healthy side dish of hopelessness. It's
Is it healthy?
yeah. We laugh so we don't cry a little bit. And so the nonprofit my full-time job is with is YWCA. Our mission is eliminating racism, empowering women. All of what we do, most of what we do, much of what we do is under the DEI umbrella. Like we are all
Right.
about addressing systemic issues, identity-based discriminations and oppressions and all the things that we're being told not to do that are vital to be done, especially when language that has been supportive of DEI efforts and
Right.
inclusion and just human rights at the base, at the core of it. The language
Yeah.
is being excused and misappropriated to keep people down in the name of white supremacy and the patriarchy and all of those ugly things that persist. So there's deep fear, primarily around funding, in terms of like what will we be allowed to do because it's a service that
Gotcha.
becomes more necessary the more it's targeted. And then what I've noticed from like the university professor aspect, especially as an adjunct, is
Sure.
similar panic in terms of like lack of funding, almost predictive cutting of funding, especially
Yeah.
because the program you and I graduated from is education and social justice. So like
Yeah.
seeing our department shrink itself, have less opportunities for teaching, depending on I don't know this last year, but like a slight shrinking in size of students who are going through the program, whether it's
Yeah.
lack of interest, fear of
Yeah.
being interested.
Kind of continuing with the last statement that you made, there's been at least people that I know that have not necessarily gone through the same program that I have, but have started a PhD program that really does touch on social justice and equity work. It's almost this like, what am I working this hard for type of feeling that they're setting my way
Yeah.
because of the cutting of funding, because of the attacks, sometimes personal, that are happening because we think, oh,
Yeah.
it's public K-12 and public universities, but so many different places have funding from the federal government and nonprofits that even offer grants are also receiving their funding from. And so things are being pulled out. For my state, for example, in North Carolina, March 3rd or 4th, I believe it was, that they pushed out a following the executive orders, want to make
Mhm.
sure that there isn't divisive language and there isn't this and that or the other because we want to keep equality. We want to protect equality. of all people, it basically went into if anyone feels discomfort because they have to eat into the or they have to address certain systemic inequities and things like that. Now, there's a potential of it being legally not a thing you can do. So, how do you even function in that kind of space? What I'm trying to also ask is from the policy standpoint, is there more on the Illinois side impacting you all? Is there a specific example or story illustrating the challenge or opportunities you've encountered? I know that was like a whole lot of questions. So, hold
No, I love
those.
it.
Just answer all of them right now.
I got you. One,
Thank you.
I have never been more grateful to live in Illinois. Like, we are a unicorn state in terms of our governor, JV Pritzker, is wonderful. Like, I'm so thankful for that man who has made himself, through his like genuine moral courage, a target of Trump's in terms of like you've seen Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric and talking about Chicago as like ground zero for all
That's
these.
another big piece.
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
Yeah.
just because you shared that you're originally from Morocco,
Mhm.
like you don't have to get into that piece, but yes, all the different pieces of policy,
Yeah.
funding, and specific stories of how this is impacting. Please continue.
For sure. You mentioned it like on the note of being an immigrant, just seeing this last night or this morning. I mean, it's drinking from a fire hose. We all know this now.
Yes.
The federal potentially decision to revoke student visas for folks who support Palestinians and like the equating of Palestine with Hamas because, oh, it's anti Semitic, but like nobody's checking their Islamophobia. Like, as a Muslim too, just feeling that pressure and seeing students that I still support in like a mentorship capacity struggling with that. And as a recent citizen myself, feeling like grateful to be a citizen, but also not immune to all of the very targeted
Right.
attacks. That's what they are, particularly with the level of vindictiveness, because it's not just policy. Well, it is absolutely policy, but it's the personalization of policy in punitive ways where it's like, this thing has angered me. And so a very real conversation leadership at my nonprofit we've been having is, do we like the second day after the inauguration, when
Right.
there was a decision to cut all federal funding for anything with a whisper of DEI, my CEO, director of development, and I like sat down together and were like, okay, the local newspaper wants us to talk about how that might impact us. We
Gotcha.
need to, we should, but should we be first? Because if we're first, we're putting a target on our back,
True.
potentially federally, definitely locally. We're not going to stop doing what we're doing until we literally legally cannot do it. Like, we're still
Right.
absolutely compliant
Right.
with the law. We're still absolutely doing everything we need to. Um, but there's that fear of being too outspoken. And so we just kind of like sat down and hoped someone else would speak up first, which feels really crummy, especially given our mission and our values and like our dedication.
Right.
But it's this balance of how do I like be about it in a way that doesn't jeopardize what I'm trying to be about? Because if you
Right.
like speak out too much, you're going to absolutely close the door on yourself and like
Right.
not be able to provide the service that is like desperately needed. I forgot where I was going with that, but that's one of the things that
No,
comes
no,
to
no, but
mind.
that's the personalization, right, of some of these
Mhm.
policies is absolutely a big thing. I love how you frame that because that is truly what's happening. Especially when I'm even just talking about the North Carolina policy thing. It's like, wait, me being uncomfortable. So what does that mean? Every single space. And yes, being the first one to speak is somebody has to be, but at the same time, there's this, but this is
Yeah.
my job, this is my income. I've got all these other people that I have to take care of. But I love how you frame
Yeah.
that. How do I be about it without
And me, because
jeopardizing?
like you know me like personally to know that I'm always the first person to say something. And
Yeah.
so I was ready to be like, let me talk about newspaper. Like, bring 'em over here, bring 'em over here. Wait, no, 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 no,
But you're not just
no.
representing yourself either now.
Exactly.
So
It could
even
be
like,
any.
right, even just like the LinkedIn article that we wrote together, we had to think about, wait, but a caveat. These are our thoughts and feelings,
I
like,
know.
and
Don't come on my bus. Don't come on my income.
right, this is not, these are not the thoughts and feelings or whatever, university or group
Yeah.
or organization that we're affiliated with. So because it does become like, so are you representing? No, I'm representing myself.
We're
But
in
it's
such a, yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Like, on the note, like, you got me excited talking about, like, we're not representing these groups, like, the majority of us work at 501(c)(3)s, like, we have to be nonpartisan, whether we're institutions don't specifically focused on education or other nonprofits that are social services driven. So we have to be nonpartisan, but we're at a point in time where you can't say anything without it being partisan. Where like,
Yeah.
even if I'm like, "Oh, I'm queer," oh, she's a liberal. Like, yeah, I am, but also like that's not what I said. You know what I mean? Like, we have a program at our nonprofit that supports formerly incarcerated women. And
Right.
even that it's a political statement because we focus on women. Oh no, wow, what about like no, like we can do these things, but it's so coded, again, personalized, politicized, and just jeopardized because of how feelings laden it is in terms of leadership's emotional mood swings.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that you brought that. I also appreciated that you highlighted the nonprofit space, that you keep highlighting actually the nonprofit space, because when you think about HR 9495 that talks about what is it called? Stop terror piece,
Yeah,
where I can choose to name you as being affiliated with because I don't like what you stand for. So you
right.
add that with everything else. It's maybe I'm comfortable losing my job, maybe I'm not, but am I comfortable losing it for everybody else? Right?
It's
Kind of the
so
space.
it's the pettiest witch hunt this country has had yet. It reminds me of the Texas Heartbeat Act or whatever nonsense they were trying to stop women from having the rights over their own bodies, where you could snitch on neighbors or doctors and
Oh, well, that's
risk
what we're doing right now.
100%
There's a portal, by
exactly.
the way, where you can list
Yes,
all the different places. And the funny
totally. And
thing,
we've taken
it's empowered a lot of people. So, like in our community, for example, like there's some few parent support groups on Facebook, everywhere. They have created websites and basically copied and pasted people's emails. They haven't gone personal information yet, thankfully. But we work in public spaces. I'm public K-12. Right now, I'm like navigating the higher ed space. It's interesting. It's a little
yeah,
different, but our information is public. You can dig up and find our salaries. You can dig up and find, everything else affiliated to us, unfortunately,
yeah,
fortunately, whatever you want to call it. But that also means that now I'm, again, back to the personalization of like,
yeah,
you've now created a website where you're putting attacks down that are not necessarily accurate, and they have it for specific programs, like separate website for specific programs that our institutions are doing that they don't necessarily agree with, and then saying like who you need to respond to. They have signed petitions. They are trying to push some litigations forward for against individuals or against districts as a result. They are also creating sites that is almost like an add-on to the portal where it's
yeah.
these are the ones we've identified. Here's the link to their website. Here's a direct link to, what goes against this order. And so let's start like copying and pasting and putting that in the portal. I mean, like
Yeah,
full on state level, national
yeah.
level. It's quite the witch hunt, so to speak.
It's like the worst scrapbooking project ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, keep the memories
I've
and
never
fight
seen
them.
scrapbooking in that behavior.
It's
In
just
that
like we're like
perspective.
selling it all together to like dox someone. And like the doxing isn't new. We saw a lot of that in the 2016 administration,
Yeah.
but it was done by reporters, not by the literal government like agents themselves. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that was something that wasn't as federally endorsed as it is now. And like I really to everyone who makes those trash sites, like, look at you activists. Like that's just activism like for the devil, but here we are.
That's really single level. I mean, the thing that you brought up immediately when you started kind of bringing up the scrapbooking and the witch hunt and how it's being perpetrated by spaces we're not used to, it's spaces we're not used to within the context of the United States, right? Because we come from
Yeah.
colonial spaces. So it's almost like I remember sitting down in conversation when some of these things came up. Like, thankfully, I have citizenship too, but I'm still like, do we have updated passports? Because I could have it, but I
Yeah.
look a certain way and you still might question me. And we clearly know, like, if I don't have it on me, you clearly don't really pay
Yeah.
attention to whether or not the person
Well,
should or should not be there and kick them out. So I'd be like, my brain went into coup mode, right? Because
yeah,
I don't know about
same.
you, you grew up around some coons, right? So it's like that bag is
Truly.
ready, all
Oh,
the
truly,
papers are
truly.
ready, like the rap. Like, I mean, it's crazy, but I'm grateful for having been in that colonized space where the muscle memory immediately comes back to
Thank
like,
you.
how do I stay safe? How do I keep my family
Uh-huh.
protected? But at the same time, you think about it, you're
Fully.
like, dang, thought I left that. I mean,
Isn't
that's
this the
the
free
legal
world?
countries.
Yeah, like I love this messed up country. But I like you think about like I love that you bring up the colonization piece of it because like countries like Tunisia have had abortion rights before America and continue to have them
You
after
were telling me about
America.
that.
Let's think about that. Let's think about that. And then to your point about like reminding us of the whole land, the motherland. I feel like I'm back in a monarchy where you can't say a thing. Like Hassan Tani, the second Hassan II was like the king for the majority of my life when I was living in Morocco, and like there was very much. Am I allowed to even say it now? Like you couldn't say a thing
Sorry,
against that man.
yeah.
Indeed, no worries. But like we're seeing
It's
that
like
again here.
it's like a sippy cup right here. Sorry,
You
go
see,
ahead.
like
Go ahead.
no, just that. Like it feels like being back in a monarchy instead of like the democratic like
Yeah. Yeah.
mythology that we've been told to expect.
And I wonder if that's why it feels so much more insidious to folks with our type of background because it is so reminiscent of things that we didn't ever expect America to.
Yeah,
Not
and
to
then
say
America
that
was
it
here
has a
again,
perfect history.
right?
Like we
And
ignore the
then
fact that there is a messed up
okay.
history. It was founded on a messed up history.
Absolutely. It's the myth isn't holding up, like, the cracks are deeply showing because we're
Yeah.
seeing policy and practices and internationally, like, enacted behaviors that replicate the former enemies of the United States, like the countries that the US has gone in to correct of the same behaviors that we're seeing exhibited
Right,
at a
right,
federal
right.
level.
Who
And
corrects the
that's
corrector, right?
indeed a little hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to like the education spaces, I'm thinking of like the Florida Don't Say Gay bill. I'm thinking about one of the classes I teach is understanding diverse communities. It's a social work course because
Mhm.
social work has always been predominantly
You're
white female in
working
the
with
US.
exactly that. Yeah.
Indeed. And so even before I said the first word in class, there was students being like, well, I don't know if my political opinions are going to be the same as everyone else. And you're like, that
They probably won't, and that's fine.
yeah, like that's irrelevant here. Like we're talking about how do you offer care and resources to someone
Right.
in a way that
So
they
are
can
you telling me
offering
that
them and they can connect.
you're going to not offer care? Like you're not going to
Indeed.
follow through on the whole social work thing that you have been trained
Yeah.
to do because you need to find out other people's political views first before you decide whether they're worth giving care to?
Right.
Is this what we're
Like are you a Leo? Are you a vegan? What else are we gonna talk about that like doesn't have a need to have a
I don't
place
like this
here?
about you. You don't get help. Same.
Truly.
Whether or
Well,
not you meet qualifications, it's not about that anymore.
yeah. In my heart, you don't qualify. And that's where
In my
bias
church, you don't. Well, oh my Lord. Oh, goodness gracious. I,
well, I think that's what we're like essentially
yeah, that is. I laugh, to stop from crying, so to speak.
100%.
I know that I've like meandered and,
We're
and
there.
and put us through different pathways and stuff like that. But we were touching on the other two questions actually too. So, but it's kind of getting to the if you could offer one piece of advice or insight for others working. We talked about what's not right, what's not normal, what's messed up, some of our kind of backgrounds and things like that, and the patterns that we see within that. But what is then something that you can offer for advice or insight to others working in the social justice field during this time? Just kind of silver lining or a ray of sunshine or just something. Right.
We need it. We need something to hold on to.
Just switching from all the wrong things to what can be right.
Yep.
What's
I'm thinking of this scene at my mind. The scene in Jurassic Park where he's like, "Hold on to your butts," because that's where we're at.
I got it. Both cheeks. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
But like, what else we do? No, I think the advice I'm gonna just bring
That's the advice. That's
no, it's the first piece, yes, but there's a second piece.
if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm not just sitting on my hands. I'm holding on to my butt.
Yeah, we're
Sorry,
just
go ahead.
brace.
I'm sorry.
But
Go
then
ahead.
you're golden. You're golden. The phrase that's like predictive compliance or like complying ahead of the time you need to. So
Oh
whether
yes,
it
yes,
was like
yes.
yeah, USAID or AmeriCorps preemptively complying, I think
Mhm,
is the word
mhm,
I'm looking
mhm.
for. And like shutting down things based off of an executive order that had not yet been enacted. And like we've
Yeah.
seen so many changes, like the blustery, like we're gonna
Right.
end it, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Whether
like
or not you
let
have the
be
power to actually do those things. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
exactly. No, 100% because they're in legal power. We see the headline and we're like, oh crap, we have to survive. And so like we preemptively like amputate ourselves and like we might not have to because again it's all just like smoke and mirrors or like
Mhm.
piss and vinegar really, because like there's nothing to back it yet,
Yeah.
maybe hopefully like that's the hope is that so many of these things that he's like just like diarrheaed out all over us are like not able to be upheld. And sorry for that image, but that's what we're living in, like literally
Hey,
someone else
thank
policy
you.
poop. Yeah.
I'm a visual person. This is helpful. This
Yeah, they,
it follows the hold on to your butt
but
theme. So we're
yeah, it really, yeah. There's a theme here. I think we're telling how I feel about it. And the imagery is evoking all of it. But like the advice is like don't preemptively comply because
yeah.
there is the hope like there are people fighting back. There are folks that I know like personally through other things I'm involved in who are suing the US government because they're trying to overreach. And all under the name of like shrink government, we have an overreaching government, like
Sure.
make it make sense. And the hope piece is we have to see if is it a facade? Like, you know, those old Western, like, ghost town things, like in Scooby-Doo, where there's, like, the facade of the saloon, and
Sorry,
then
you
it's,
said
like,
Western
the white
and went into Scooby Doo and that. I was
you know, there's,
following
like
you with Western and then I got like, wait,
it's in
hold
both,
on. It's
but,
both.
like,
I got you.
the facade of the saloon, and, like, you go to it, and it's just, like, a
Gotcha.
picture held up, and you're like, "Oh, like, let me just move that stick and it all falls." Like, that's a lot of the blustering stuff we have, like, it's supposed to
Yeah.
be this, like, we've built this empire, and you're like, "What
Oh,
held
yeah,
together was
yeah.
what? Spit and right?" Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It
so
makes me think
that's
of
all
what
about
the Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs, House of I guess they say House of Cards. This is terrible. Sometimes expressions in me, I don't
all the
remember them all,
idioms.
but it's just
I don't
yes,
either.
we foundation, so to speak. And not to keep
Mhm.
bringing up our LinkedIn article, but I think it
Check
really
it out.
fits well into that idea of cultivated ignorance that we talked about and normalizing
Yeah.
equity, right? Like, what are you
100%.
arguing about? This is normal. Like
Mhm.
you're supposed to have like this massive gap between people that can and people that can't. Like that's
Right.
normal. That should exist.
Oh,
Should it though?
indeed. We normalize so much messed up stuff like that. I forget his last name, but a poet named Ross something or other, University of Indiana, like says we've normalized like urban spaces without trees and like grass, and like it's supposed that's like the natural way we expect some people. You picking up what I'm putting down to live, and like that in nature is literally like the devastation of nature in that, but we see it as normal
Yeah.
and natural. Some folks don't
Right.
have it,
Because
and
if we say it's normal, we don't have
created
to
it.
fix anything.
Exactly, because we've created this nonsense that
Yeah.
ugh,
So of course,
mhm,
like let me preemptively comply because I mean this is what it's supposed to be, right? This is normal.
mhm.
We've
Yeah,
got so many different things that encourage you to think critically that I'm just going to
yeah. You follow
follow suit.
the like you exactly. I
Yeah.
think the other piece of advice or suggestion is like we've seen certain political factions take CRT as a mantle or like Black Lives Matter as a mantle, and like it's the Drapetomania thing we talk about in our article with
Yeah.
DEI, like spell it out. Don't say DEI. I still say it, but like I'm trying to work on being like, okay, I'm on inclusion. Like of DEI, what do you hate? You hate diversity, equity, or inclusion. Like which of the
Yeah.
three things is what
And not
you most
just the words
take it
though.
down?
Honestly, even from the word standpoint, because and you know this from all the PD stuff, because we have a similar
Mhm.
background in that sense, where just because we all use the same word, even if we go from the acronym to saying diversity, equity, inclusion, what is diversity to you? What does that mean to you? What makes it so bad?
Right. There's so much white male fragility. Like y'all don't need to be the center of the universe to have value. Like y'all still matter,
But
but
that's what's
other
normal.
people do.
That's what's normal. So of
Right. You're right. You're
course
right. I'm sorry. My little lady brain. Darn.
you're forgiven.
Thank
We'll
you.
ask the guy later on just to make sure.
Indeed, a blessing.
That's terrible. Not to bash anybody, but maybe to, I don't know. But thank you for that. And I hope I didn't cut you off in that piece of advice
No,
piece.
no.
And you started
Oh
getting on
no.
the hope piece as well, which is one of the concluding pieces. So what gives you hope or inspires you to continue this work?
I think Like the microcosm example I can give is just the other day I was doing a PD for a group of educators on LGBTQ identity, like how to support non-binary folks. I talked about like some of the media myths and what have you. And for every person, usually of a certain gender, you can imagine where I'm going with this, that was mean mugging me in the back before I even spoke, like legs
That's
spread,
what it felt
rushing
like
at
yesterday when we were in town hall. But go ahead. Sorry,
me.
sorry. You're bringing back memories.
Like,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I know the trauma, they're real. But for every
We
person
haven't even said hello yet. We've never met. What's going on?
really,
You know me
well,
this well already. Gotcha.
indeed, like let me earn the hate you give. Like, come on, let
Right.
me like
Right.
actually make
Let's humanize it.
that.
Let's humanize
Truly.
hate somehow. Let's make it be
Uh-huh.
real. If you're gonna hate me for good reason. Like, get to know me
Authentic hate.
first.
That's what we want. We want authentic earned hate.
Well, what authentic and earned. Oh my lord. Go ahead. Good. Make
I would speak the
lessons.
language. I try. So many shirts. But like for every person that was mean mugging, there was at least one or two other people who were earnestly trying to do better so that they were not perceived as the perpetual ass or the perpetual alienator of other people who are different. And so it's hard to focus on the good when there's so much bad, but that brings an element of hope. And like folks have like reached out to me personally and with my organization in terms of like,
Yeah.
we want to support you, we want to support this work, we want to support people of color, we want to support women, like all this good stuff.
You know.
And then when the hope is hard, I get to talk to people like you and say, listen to what happened yesterday. And that, man, there's at least camaraderie in that because I think what the onslaught this administration is like, again, like barfing out all over us, is designed to make us feel lonely, designed to make us feel afraid,
That's
designed to
true.
isolate us. And like the most resilient
Divide and
thing we can
conquer.
do is not let that happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're going to collectively respond. Like, you can't conquer the collective. There's power in that. And that's what we've been designed not to appreciate and not to see. And so I hope that trend continues, even if it's just in our little shady conversations together. But I hope it happens larger scale because it needs to. It just straight up needs to. Because we
Yeah.
have more power than we think we do a lot of the time. It's just pausing and having the conversation. And to your point, strategizing in response, not preemptively complying. And yeah, trying to just hold on to our butts.
And we'll actually end it on that line. That's the perfect one. It's honnêtement, merci beaucoup.
Ah,
Thank you so much. It's
for
been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to
always.
you. This has been a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all the wisdom I got right now.
It's wisdom. I love it. Take care.
Cheers. Thank
You too.